Hey guys, Chrissy here for Blitsy, and today I'm going to show you how to create this card. We're actually going to use vellum to highlight something instead of soften it. So to create my background, I wanted to make a custom, kind of inspired by pattern paper background. So I had cut a piece of that pattern paper, it's from my mind's eye, and I used that as my color palette. So I grabbed these watercolors, and these are Ganzai Tambi. I never know if I'm saying that right. And so I just kind of went through and pulled out some of the colors that I thought would go. And then I also grabbed the stamp set. It's from Stamp It Australia, and it's a floral set. It's called Floral Fancies. And I just grabbed the one flower that's on there. There's a ton in that set. I wanted to stick with one flower. So I just went ahead and I inked it up with some VersaFine ink. I prefer VersaFine in most cases just because one, the ink doesn't really seem to bleed when I'm painting, and two, it stamps super crisp. But I also, just to make sure, like to put clear embossing powder on top of it, just so I know that it for sure is not going to bleed when I add the water and the paint and everything to it. We're going to be doing a lot to this piece of paper. We're going to use it and abuse it here, so protect what you can while you can. So to activate the embossing powder, I just used a heat gun. And I just want to mention too that I sped up this video. I normally do not work nearly this fast. So once everything was heat embossed and it was ready to go, I decided I was going to do some watercolor painting, but I want it to be super loose. Okay, so I'll be the first to admit I kind of had a hard time with this at first. I am not one to go with like that loose painting look. I absolutely love watercolors and I love the way that that look is, but it took me a few tries to actually get it down. So you'll kind of see me dabbing in water here and there, and then I actually have a paper towel like right off camera, right off to my right, that I did kind of like, I'd go in the paint and then go in the water and then tap. See, you could see I tapped a little bit of water off on that paper towel. It took me a few tries to get like the right amount of paint and color and water mixture situation going on. So once I got that, then I started feeling a little bit more confident, and I went ahead and went with the second color. So I went with the blue. And then I did the same thing, but like even with the blue, it was a little bit different than the red, because the red was super vibrant and the blue wasn't quite as vibrant as I expected it to be. So yeah, it was kind of like a trial and error situation, but you can see that I'm just going, I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard to color outside of the lines. This does not work with me very well. I am always one to color in the lines. So actually trying to be messy on purpose, this was a challenge, but I do really, really love the way that it did come out. Now, I did go back a couple times and I added more color here and there, and then I'd hit it with the heat gun to dry it off, like I'm doing here, because I'm way too impatient to wait for it to dry on its own, and then I add a few more layers of color, and I did end up getting that multiple layer, soft, loose, beautiful watercolor look that everybody loves. I mean, that's why we use watercolors, right? So it did finally work for me, but like I said, it did take me a couple tries. So lesson here for everyone, anyone can watercolor. You just might not be perfect at it the first time. So practice, practice, practice. Like this is a technique that I had never done before. I usually do like no line watercoloring or in the line watercoloring. So it's rare that I try to paint this loose and free-flowing and whatever you want to call it. So I grabbed some of the green, and instead of, I didn't have any leaves to stamp, so I just decided to add some green that would kind of be like emulating the leaves, symbolizing the leaves, whatever you want to say. So I just added some green here and there, and then I did notice that I had some extra little splatters. I guess I was a little bit too loose with my coloring. So I just took a water brush and I just kind of added some water to it and lightened it, and then they went away. So that's one of the nice things about watercolors too, is that even if you screw up, you can usually fix it. Like if you saw earlier when I first started doing it, I put the color down and then I dabbed it off with a paper towel. It was because I didn't like it. Like the yellow and the red went together and made like an orange color, and it was just not what I was looking for. So watercolors are very forgiving. If you screw up, add water and use a paper towel and dab them right off there. So I finally got the look that I wanted. So I grabbed that pattern paper again and I attached it to my card base. There we go. And now once this was completely dry, I used the heat gun again. I put a lot of adhesive and adhered it to the front of that. And just flatten it down, make sure everything's nice and flat and wonderful. So next, we are going to use this awesome Deco Foil foam adhesive. I love anything with foiling. And this foam adhesive is so cool because it's foam and it's sticky on both sides. So it makes my life super easy because I don't have to die cut things 400 times like I normally do. Well, not 400. Okay, so I'll do like 4. It just makes it easier because it's already foam, so it's already dimensional. And I love it. So I use this die from Avery Elle. And this is one of my favorite word dies. There's something about this font, like I don't know what it is. It gets me every time. So I die cut it off camera, and then you saw I used the tool-in-one just to kind of pop it out. And I just wanted to show that because everybody has problems sometimes getting dies out of their die cuts. So I grabbed some vellum, and now I'm just gonna kind of tear it, you know, how I want it. It wasn't quite working at first, so I just kept kind of tearing and ripping and whatever. Guess if you're angry, this is great therapy, right? So normally, like I said, vellum is used to soften, but we are going to use the vellum to bring forward this die cut that we just made. So I guess technically we're going to soften the background so the background is less noticeable and the die cut really pops. So I just grabbed a stamp set that I had on hand, and it says you are something, something, something. I don't know what the something, something, something was. I forget, in my heart or something like that. So I put a Post-it on the what I didn't want because all I wanted was the UR, and then I inked it up with that VersaFine ink again, and then I peeled off the Post-it. So there you can see the only thing that stamps is a UR because that's all I need, and that's awesome. So because I'm stamping on vellum, I'm going to go ahead and use the clear embossing powder again because vellum takes a long time to dry. Because it's more of a slick surface. It's not like regular paper. And even when you think it's dry, guess what? Sometimes it's not. So I wanted to make sure that I had that ink sealed in. So now the challenge sometimes with vellum, getting the adhesive on there and not showing it, I just folded it inside. And then if you want to cover that up, by the way, you can also cut another panel to the side of your card, stick it inside, and no one will even know that that's how it's adhered. So, vellum adhered, everything is stamped, die cut is ready to go. So this foam adhesive is crazy sticky. I'm not even exaggerating. It is crazy sticky. See how it's sticking on my fingers like that? So I decided tweezers, probably the best option. So I'm just using those kind of instead of my fingers where I can. So foam is great because if I wanted to kind of pull it and stretch it, I could. But foam can also be bad because if I don't want to pull it and stretch it, I still could. So once that was on there, and again, super sticky, so it's not coming off. It is on there until the world ends, let me tell you. So then I'm peeling off this top layer. See? Double-sided foam adhesive. Fabulous. I'm a lazy crafter. This makes my life so much easier. Then I also cut a piece of this Deco foil here, and I'm just going to go ahead and press it on. And I'm also using a bone folder to just really kind of get it in there. If you're using a solid die cut, say like a circle or a square or something without any like intricate details, you don't need to do that. Your hand usually just works. But there's a few little intricate pieces in there. So I use the bone folder to kind of like lightly burnish it in. So now just peel it off. I know it looks like I'm going fast, but I was actually going pretty slow. And you can see that it comes off of the foil and goes right on your die cut. Awesome. So last but not least, I decided that I wanted to add in a few sequins. So I just wanted to show you real quick here that I throw some glue on a paper towel and dip my sequins in. That's the way I do it. There's all kinds of ways, but that's the way that I prefer to do it. I just use a clear glue. It dries nice and clear, looks fabulous. Don't need to worry about anything else. So there you go. There's a few close-ups. You can kind of see that foil. That looks really pretty, right? It really pops out that vellum, softens the back, and really brings forward that die cut that we created. So give it a try. Happy crafting, everyone.